Yeah, we got big game energy, but I am going to be honest with you. I cannot see Drake Maye win a Super Bowl before Jayden Daniels, Anthony.
See, the question they need to ask Drake May is, does he know any Run DMC songs, David?
And the good news is that even with Nick Emanwari limping away from practice, the Seahawks still have plenty of defense to make sure it doesn't happen anyway.
Hail to the Commanders! It's the Commanders Squad. Everything Washington Commanders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of the nation's capital. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Rally the burgundy and gold. The Commanders Squad Show starts now.
All right, we got David Harrison, Anthony Armstrong, and Nick Ashew, and we are just days away from the final football game of this season. It's 2026, but it's the 2025 season. You understand what we're talking about here. The Super Bowl is felt, it's weird because as we look ahead to this, it does feel like there's a level of quiet around Patriots and Seahawks for a lot of different reasons that we'll get to. There's some rumors about Maxx Crosby wanting out, and I'm just going to say this. I've been saying for a long time, Commanders, it's getting louder. And let's be honest with ourselves here, too. There are plenty of people that don't want to see Drake Maye win a Super Bowl over Jayden Daniels first. That includes me, but we will start with this game. A couple of days left before we get here as we're taping this on a Thursday here. If you're watching live, obviously, you know how many days away that it is. It's funny, Anthony. I look at this game this week, and it's two teams that were long shots to get to the Super Bowl. It's two teams that most people kind of looked at the beginning of the season and thought, they might take the next step. Seattle's defense is good, and the Patriots were aggressive in the offseason a little bit. Nobody expected this to be the Super Bowl matchup, but we see how they got here. It's certainly different ways, but the one thing I do know is you got two defenses that have been a major, major part of both of these teams' successes getting here.
You definitely do, and I can tell you this game is tricky. It's tricky. It's tricky to rock a rhyme. To rock a rhyme, it's right on time. Both of these defenses rhyme. These teams are very similar to each other when you look at it. Okay, you got a young Drake Maye, obviously second year in the league. Flip side, you got a very seasoned Sam Darnold, but hey, he's kind of young in this recent success of being atop the league as one of the best quarterbacks out there right now. The defense travels, and that's what's been helpful for both of these squads. And it could be the difference maker in this matchup is like what defense is going to be able to make somebody make a mistake. If I had two players to circle, one on each defensive side, Christian Gonzalez is one. He's going to draw the straw of following JSN around. All right, the Colony prospect going against the Rockwall prospect. These guys are going back to Texas high school football action right now.
You're always going back to
Texas
I'm
gonna reference it. I'm gonna reference this. Shout out to my boy Greg Tepper. We're gonna get him on the show at some point. But look, those guys are gonna match up with each other. But now you got a chess game because the coordinator for Seattle, the Clint Kubiak, he moves JSN around. He runs routes from the backfield sometimes. So how that matchup plays out is going to be interesting. Can Christian Gonzalez take advantage of the times that they may challenge him and throw the ball his way? Creating a turnover can be something, but you flip it. You talked about Nick Emanwari coming in on the intro. That guy right there is a playmaker. He is a hybrid of sorts. He is one of those guys you just have on the defense and you just tell him to go somewhere and he's going to be impactful. So his presence against Drake Maye and what he does, can he slow down some of those decisions? Can they pick up on some tips and trends of what they've seen all season? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be really interesting to see, David.
It is, and I've got some data here for you real quick. And it means nothing. I'm just gonna be very straight up with it. It means absolutely nothing, which is why I talk about it on the squad show, because this is where we have a little bit of fun and not everything has to be incredibly serious, right? Yeah. But something interesting is gonna happen this weekend because Sam Darnold and Drake Maye, unless something just crazy happens, knock on wood, and that it doesn't, are gonna start this Super Bowl for the Seattle Seahawks and for the New England Patriots, respectively. Sam Darnold from the 2018 NFL draft class, Drake Maye from the 2024 NFL draft class. One of these two is going to become the next starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Whoever it is will be the first quarterback from their respective classes to win a Super Bowl. Gentlemen, there have only been 6 draft classes in the National Football, in the history of the Super Bowl. There have only been 6 classes to have multiple quarterbacks win a Super Bowl from that class. From one class. And there have only been 3 since the start of 2000. The 2000 NFL draft class has multiple starting quarterback Super Bowl winners, 2004 and 2012. That's it. 18 single year draft classes have one Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Wow.
So that means that whoever wins, if one of these two quarterbacks wins, it is very likely. What are the odds? The odds are, I'm looking at the numbers here. I'm trying to read them in real time. I don't know what the odds are, but
I know where you're going with
basically
this.
what's happening, what's going to happen is there's going to be 19 single winner classes to 6 multi-winner classes. So whatever that math works out to, I'm Asian, but I'm not that Asian. Whatever that math works out to, whatever that ratio is, I want to say there's roughly 66% chance that there's not going to be another Super Bowl winning quarterback from the 2024 NFL draft class or the 2018 NFL draft class. So Baltimore Ravens, Washington Commanders, Chicago Bears, Buffalo Bills, right? I think Josh Allen was in that class as well. You have a lot of reasons to root for one side or the other if you believe any of that math, which means absolutely conversation. But it's just kind of interesting. It's an interesting anecdotal piece of data to bring up in this conversation, which only makes those who are panicking about the fact that Drake Maye is in the Super Bowl in the first place even more panicky now that I've dropped that anecdotal data.
I'll add in the piece of random data that goes with this same game. If Drake Maye does end up winning, he would make the 6th university that has a president and a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
That's right.
The best response I saw was Ryan Fitzpatrick was like, "Hey, this is on me, Harvard. I'm sorry, I didn't make it happen." So, those are some interesting stats, man. I don't know what they mean. They don't mean.
And that's
nothing,
winning Super Bowls, by the way. It doesn't mean they don't go to Super Bowls. That's just winning Super Bowls. So I did the math. 25% chance. If Drake Maye wins, there's a 25% chance that either Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., anybody from the 2024 NFL draft class will win a Super Bowl in the entirety of their careers. 25% chance.
In the entirety. So that includes
that's all career, yeah.
That's not even just like with their first team.
Yeah, there's a 25% chance that if Drake Maye wins, there's a 25% chance that any other quarterback from the 2024 NFL draft class will win a Super Bowl based on history.
So here's the one thing that I would take and flip it a little bit on that, and it's kind of what Richard is saying here in the comments, the YouTube comments here too, is that this draft class is very unique with quarterbacks, the 2024 class. And there is a higher probability, given how many, just 6 in the first 12 picks, and given the talent that's certainly there, injuries aside, with multiple quarterbacks at this point here, you can at least look at that and hope that if Drake Maye does win a Super Bowl, and we're looking at Jayden Daniels and looking at those 25% chance, odds, and going, well, at least maybe we can say that this is a different group than some of these other ones. But let me tell you something, David. First off, the math was mathing. Great job on that. You didn't give yourself enough credit. Secondly, this is another reason why I'm rooting against the Patriots, guys. Go Sam Darnold the whole way without question for me.
I'm glad you bring that up. Because like I said, I just said this for a reason. I'm just telling you that's the odds that they win a Super Bowl. Not go to a Super Bowl, but win a Super Bowl, which means there could still be some good years ahead, even if they don't win a Super Bowl. Obviously, everybody wants to win a Super Bowl, right? The best quarterback class, widely considered the best quarterback class in the history of the National Football League, 1983 NFL draft. Do you guys know how many Super Bowl winning quarterbacks came out of the 1983 NFL draft quarterback class? The best quarterback class to ever enter the National Football League?
We got Elway, right?
You have Elway.
Marino did not win. He went to win.
Marino went, but he did not win.
Who else was over there in that class? In
fact, Marino went to one in year 2 of his career and then never went back again. So Drake Maye could be the Dan Marino of this class, by the way. That could also become a thing.
He is the youngest since Dan Marino. So I don't know.
Jim Kelly was the other quarterback from that class that went to the Super Bowl. John Elway is the only Super Bowl winning quarterback from the best quarterback class to ever enter the NFL draft. He's the only 1983 quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Kelly and Marino both went, but they never won. Plunkett and Theismann from 1971 were both winners. Montana and Sims in 1979. Brady and Dilfer. So, good. I don't know who the last quarterback draft in 2024 was, but good luck. You have a chance, buddy. Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson and Nick Foles. So,
I like that it's not only relegated to like first round picks. Like, hey, there's some obviously Brady's in there, Dilfer's in there, and Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. I like that type
You
of
know,
stuff.
it's
So
one
go
of those
Seahawks.
things too.
Go
We know,
Hawks.
right? Well, first off, you've added enough to the layers here now where it should mean every Commanders fan is rooting for the Seahawks for that many more reasons. But it's funny because like we look so much and prioritize quarterbacks in the first round and starting them right away and all these expectations that are put on them. It's another example too, just everything you've given on top of the fact that Sam Darnold has taken the scenic route to success at this point and, went through the Jets and went through the Panthers and then learned under Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco and then learned at least as a starter and had some success in Minnesota before those final two games. And you're kind of looking going, we have these high expectations on quarterbacks, yet they're so unrealistic at this point where it's like start and you should win right away. And, oh my God, he's a bust after a year and a half or 2 years. And I understand that people live in the moment, fans, media, even franchises and owners, all of that. But in the end, it is so insanely difficult to even get to this point where Sam Darnold and Drake Maye are. Neither one of them may ever get back here again.
That is true. That is true. And even bigger than that, I was even thinking about just these two quarterbacks. Like both have really stellar defenses, going on about them. Like it's not like it's just been them playing at MVP levels to get to that point. You know what I mean? Like Matt Stafford played a hell of a season, but they still fell short in this thing. So you look at those other ones, like you still got to build yourself a team around it, right? So shoot, obviously with the hiring of Devontae Jones, and that's going to be very important as to if, the Seahawks handle business, could Jayden be the first one to go ahead and try to keep this trend and keep going the stack, keep rolling the same way. You know what I mean, Dave?
Now y'all are just setting me up. Y'all are just teeing them up.
Hey man,
I got the data.
Hey, we'll take it today, man.
Ready for you.
Come on,
Toss
man.
it
Here's
up.
the thing about Drake Maye potentially winning. Of the classes that have had Super Bowl winners, there are only two who have had quarterbacks who won in their second season in the NFL. The 2004 NFL draft class had a quarterback that won in his second season, which was Ben Roethlisberger. And the 2012 NFL draft class had a quarterback win in his second NFL season. That'd be Russell Wilson. Both of those classes had another quarterback win the Super Bowl. So if Drake Maye wins in his second season, so far in NFL history, those draft classes are 2 for 2. If a quarterback wins from their class in the second year in the NFL, another quarterback eventually wins a Super Bowl.
So down a whole other level.
Yeah, that's like.
And here's the thing: I'm tweeting all this. I want to find out what happens. I'm tweeting this all right now. Here's the tweet right here. Here's the tweet. I'm gonna read it to you real quick. Drake Maye winning Super Bowl 60 this weekend wouldn't just be a win for New England. It'd be a massive omen for Jayden Daniels. I'm actually going to put a positive spin on this. Since 1967, only 25% of Super Bowl winning draft classes produce a second champion. But when the first one wins in their first 2 seasons, that hit rate jumps to 100%. 2004, 2012 classes. The 2024 class is already historic. We all agree that it's been very, very solid. If Maye gets his ring Sunday, history says JD5's turn is a matter of when, not if. Of course, Bears fans, Broncos fans, you're going to have something to say about that as well. But I'm tweeting that right now. I want to see. I don't know what's going to happen with this. It could do nothing. It could do something. But I'm tweeting that right now.
It's in the light of fire.
Honestly, that's about as deep dive. That's about as deep dives as it gets. Yeah, I might even.
So basically,
for Teresh, my guy Teresh Manuel of WSA 9. This man goes down the rabbit holes of everything. Like he could tell you, like Anthony Armstrong. I don't know how, but somehow you know Bill Belichick from like your childhood, and Resh could find the connection. I don't know where it is, but he could find that connection.
Yeah, I believe that, man. I was on a pod the other day with this catcher by the name of former MLB catcher by the name of Bruce Maxwell. He's like 10 years younger than me. And then we come to find out we both used to tear up some of the same streets out there in Midland, Texas. He's like, "You been to the spot on Tuesdays, this little country bar, and they do some live?" I said, "Yeah, they got the little grill out front with the tacos and stuff." He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I've been there, man. That's a great spot to go to." So we've been to the same spot. Don't even know him. Met him through this. Sports is a small, small world, man. We all know Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells in about 6 degrees of separation.
Yep.
You know, it's funny. Whenever you say Midland, Texas, now having started to finally watch Landman, that's all I can think of now. So when you said Midland, Texas, all I could think of was which is, by the way, now that we're going to be, we at least want to have football on Sundays for anybody that's looking for something. Landman is damn good. And I bet how many college football or how many high school football ties are into that show alone, Anthony? I'm sure you probably know the whole list.
I don't know.
Right?
I've never seen Landman. I can't even lie.
Oh, it's so good. You got to watch it, man.
4 kids, man. I'd be watching. We watch what? Nick Pro. We watching all these YouTubers and stuff. I don't like that they watch that stuff, but I'm like, watch something useful, man. I'm like, watch some tape. I'm turning on Kyrie. I'm like, watch Kyrie handle the ball right here. You know what I mean? Like, come on, trying to get my son to mentally visualize this stuff.
Before we go anywhere else, since this is sort of a DC podcast, I mean, it's the Commanders. Anthony Davis to the Wizards, your Mavs giving up on the Luka trade after a year. Is that now officially the worst trade in sports history, worse than the Deshaun Watson trade? Because in my eyes, the Luka trade is officially the worst trade in sports history, dude.
I mean, yeah, I would say I'm gonna still leave it to the Deshaun Watson one because he's still on the roster, and they're not even they're not done with that. You know what I mean? The Luka trade was definitely something that hurt the folks in Dallas. We're all bitter about it a little bit, but we're moving forward. We're happy. I'm happy as hell about Chris Middleton. I'm happy, AJ Johnson, a couple of these young players. I'm getting to learn about them. We're getting some draft picks back. You know what I mean? So I'm happy with the move. AD will go up there and the AD Trae Young, if they get healthy and get on the court, that should be something that's exciting. I still like to watch the Wizards a little bit, David. You know what I mean? But the Mavs are gonna be my first love.
Yeah, I mean this is a terrible trade for the Mavericks. There's no way around it. It's just a terrible trade history for them. They do get young AJ Johnson, like perhaps he can turn into something. I think he's got some talent. Outside of Chris Middleton being a Buckeye and D'Angelo Russell being a Buckeye, there's not really a whole lot to be excited about this draft. But you got to give all kinds of credit to Will Dawkins, man. First of all, just a cool dude, just a good dude to get to know and talk to a little bit. And the fact that he was able to keep the lottery pick, the fact that the picks that he gave up are just, they're really not that, they're not expected, I should say. They're not expected. The Nuggets got Jokic in the second round, so you never know, but they're not expected to be incredibly impactful. You got a Thunder, the Oklahoma City Thunder first round pick late in the first round in 2026. You got the Golden State Warriors pick in 2030. Like, I'm not worried about 2030.
I don't understand the NBA. I don't understand like how far out they can trade stuff.
Oh, they're crazy.
Because that's like when you buy a Christmas gift and it's like 3-4 sizes too big, and you're like, I'm gonna just save it until they turn 10, right? And then randomly you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I bought these 3 years ago. That's what that
Warriors pick is top 20 protected. So if it's top 20, the Mavs don't even get it. They have to wait till 2031 to actually get a pick, so, but I mean, at the same time, like if it's top 20, that means the Warriors may not be very good. So in 2031, that pick could be, worth a lot more than it is in 2030 anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about 2030 draft capital. The Wizards still got their lottery pick for 2026 coming. They're not going to play Trae. They're not going to play AD. They're going to play all kinds of developmental players and tank for the lottery. And maybe get like a top 3 pick and go get, Boozer, come in there. And next year you got AD, you got Boozer, you got Sarr, you got Trae Young, you got some stuff. We'll see. I mean, they got to stay healthy. That's step number 1. Anthony, about AD's injury history, obviously. Like, that's number 1. Truthfully, I've never really been a big fan of AD or Trae Young, to be fully truthful, but I respect Will Dawson. Even if it's ownership directed, Nick, like it kind of feels like this might be ownership push. Like, hey, like y'all got to do something. You know what I mean? Like they brought the stick out in the meme. Like, Will do something.
Well, I mean,
but I respect the swing.
Yeah, and listen, Anthony Davis is under contract a lot longer than Trae Young. Trae Young, they can move next year because they'll pick up his option, and there's a chance that he ends up just getting sent somewhere else, so they keep him for a year. Yeah. The thing here with the Wizards, if you look, and it kind of like there are 2 positions. There's 2 ways the Commanders could go now, right? The Wizards or the Nationals. The Nationals, after they won their World Series, it was tank. It was sell off. It was get a bunch of young guys, and they traded Juan Soto and got all this back. The problem is they never got back up. The rebuild never actually happened. It was just it kept going and going and going, and eventually they redid everything from manager to front office, all of that. The Wizards are on the other side of things, where the Wizards went and did a full-on tank. They found a bunch of young players, and they embraced the full gut down to the bottom. But what they were able to do, and some of this is luck, and some of this is obviously an eye for talent, is they were able to identify talent that has a potential to be really good in the NBA. And we're seeing the development of guys from last year to this year, like an Alex Sarr. And if you're the Wizards, or if you're the Commanders, you look at the Wizards, not that they're directly looking at them per se, but it's an example of if you have a team that is rebuilding, it can be something that you build with a lot of young talent, and it takes sometimes a short amount of time for you to get back to that level where you start talking playoffs again. The Commanders won 12 games, and they really weren't supposed to win 12 games that first year under Dan Quinn and with all of the changes. And then this past season, we learned, right? We know the depth they lacked. We know the problems they had. I know it wasn't the same roster, but they also were old as hell. Getting back to building through youth, building through the draft, building through identifying talent that can come up that also isn't overly expensive allows you to build that roster from within and grow organically. And if the Commanders are in that spot, Anthony, and they start doing that this offseason and moving forward, we're going to see a team that's not just about being a firework, right? They were fireworks last year. 1 year, ooh, look at them, 12 wins. Oh my God, it's all gone now. This now moving forward has to be about the grand finale of fireworks, not just one, but all of them. Consistency, longevity. That's what this team has got to start building now, because if you keep just playing the game of let's sign older guys to 1 or 2 year contracts, and that's your only business model, you're going to fail.
Well, if you go, let me quote the great and illustrious, he's a wise person. You have to have the mind of a goldfish in some of these instances, right? When
Ted
we focus
Lasso,
on that was
my
Nick Shoosh, actually. He brought it to my attention. I've never seen Ted Lasso. So, like I said, 4 kids. The Commanders, if you focus on the season, we're like tear it all up. But when we pull back a little bit and we look at the first 2 years of where this team is and what they've come from and where you're at going forward, you understand that you're not in that bad of a spot. Adam Peters says you want to build through the draft, supplement through free agency. We have to let that process happen. He's going into his 3rd draft, I think, so far. You hit on a few picks, got some guys that are still kind of developing, and then obviously there's a few guys that haven't really panned out, but I don't think anybody's had a draft where they hit on all their picks, right? Only in your mock drafts you have A+ all the way up and down that thing. And then frankly, those things change when the guys get on the field, because we don't know what they're going to do when they actually get to play professional football. I think right now they're in a good spot, and they're going to find a way. Like, you kind of go back to that trade, how the Mavs got some more picks. That could be an option now, because, we're going to talk about it later, but if they make a potential trade and add somebody to get that can handle a position of need, that changes what you do at 7. Now you maybe not have to pick somebody there. You can back up and get a few more picks, try to stockpile some things and build through youth. So there's more ways to go down the road, more than one way to skin a cat, if you will. Sorry for the saying, but that's what the country boy in me. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? It depends on how you prepare it at first. What you're going to do over here, if they make a trade, add a player, you may not have to pick a high-level D end. So I'm interested to see how it's going to work out, but building through youth is obviously where they're going to go. The older players that they've had around have been great mentors, and they've been able to help develop and try to get the young players up to speed. Now it's time to let those young pups go and run, David. Let them see if they can handle things on their own.
Yeah, it's the fertilizer, right? I know, Anthony, I know you got a green thumb, right? It's the fertilizer. Every plant, every crop needs fertilizer to grow. So it's not just building through the NFL draft isn't just picking players and picking young players and spending draft capital on rookies. It's also developing them, cultivating them. And yeah, that's what the coaching staff is there for as well. But look, kids listen to kids, soldiers listen to soldiers, like players listen to players. You know what I'm saying? Like when you got a veteran player in the locker room, like say Bobby Wagner, like Jordan McGee, as much as he takes from Ken Norton Jr., he's going to take maybe even more in some avenues from Bobby Wagner. And so those guys absolutely have an impact. And when you see Jordan McGee, if he goes out there and has, his NFL success, like he's going to look back and say, a guy like Bobby Wagner helped me along, just like Bobby talks about KJ Wright and talks about, Cam Chancellor and those veterans that were in his locker room with the Legion of Boom that helped him get on. And so it's cyclical, right? I think the key is being able to balance those 1-2 year veteran contracts with the young guys coming up. And I think what the Commanders tried to do to kind of accelerate their potential of having success is let's find some really good rookies in certain spots and let's find some really good vets in other spots, because then we spread talent across the roster. And then, by the way, behind this vet, we got like a 5th round young guy. And then over here, we got this 1st round rookie, and we have a vet behind him that we're trying to do that too. It's thin because, I mean, the roster is thin. Look, they replaced like 60 players in 2024, so that's a thin roster just by nature. It's going to continue to be thin, I think, for another couple of years, really, honestly, until AP can get a lot of rookies in here. But obviously, there's got to be signs of success and signs of growth coming, because Anthony, going back to the gardening, like if the crop isn't growing, you don't leave the seeds in the ground all that long before you start pulling them up and getting new seeds. And in the NFL, new seeds or new GMs.
I love the plant references, man. I got to get out there and tear mine up so we can be ready for the season here soon, man. I'm gonna put me some onions in the man. Let me get off of that. No, you're right though. It is a thin. You were very astute to say how thin the roster is, and what we saw. What happens when you're thin? You have injuries, and those injuries showed all the glaring deficiencies. And it's not a knock on the players. It's just that, hey, they're not at that spot to step up and take on that role right now as the team is built. So they're going to add in more players. I think the good part about keeping David Blau, kind of going off track but still on the same topic, is that you shouldn't have a whole bunch of change of, like, you don't have to worry about a whole new person bringing in a whole new system and a whole new playbook. And, hey, forget everything you've learned over the past 2 seasons with Cliff Kingsbury. You don't have to do that. It could be, David could have his own verbiage and everything like that, but at least they still have those relationships, right? So 2 years of being together is going to be much better than brand new, hey, we're doing this on 6 months, let's try to figure it out on the fly. So it could help the transition happen quicker, especially if Adam Peters is able to add some high quality players that are going to really be explosive for the offense, Nick.
Yeah, and if we're looking at this offseason, there are some potential free agents that we'll see playing Sunday in the Super Bowl that might actually interest the Commanders. Who those could be next here on Commander Squad. And it's last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is everyone's favorite thing, and this is what they've been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from the kickoff to the final whistle. And if you're a new customer, this is the best chance to do it. You bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Perfect to have all of that for the Super Bowl, right? And even after, you make it count, because the Super Bowl, the season is over after that. It's done. This is it. This is the last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, David Harrison, Anthony Armstrong, Nick Ashew. Yes, there are some guys that might be potential free agent spot fillers. They might be small. They might be big names, depends on where it is. And clearly the biggest one in terms of free agency that the Commanders should look at is Tommy DeVito, right? No, it's not. It's not Tommy DeVito. Okay. I thought nobody's interested in Tommy DeVito. Okay. But it is like, it's funny because, look, we know the Commanders certainly have a lot of needs, and it's not like the free agent crop is just going to be necessarily going from these two guys. But, with all of the money they have and all of the needs they have, I am going to throw out a serious name for you guys. And again, all of this comes down to money. And I understand it's it's a position that people get worried about at times. But Kenneth Walker is going to be a free agent, and he's just 25 years old. If they were to add him to that backfield, they could use one more punch, some guy that has a little more experience in the NFL at running back. If they can keep Chris Rodriguez around, you're obviously going to have Bill still sticking around next year. I know it's all about price and it's all about the length of the contract, but the one thing with running backs is when you're 24, 25 years old and you're a free agent, you can still get a decent deal. But if you're getting close to 30, no team wants to touch anything like that. You might be in the sweet spot here where if we were picking somebody from these two teams that might make a major difference for the Commanders, of the price is right. One of the names, Anthony, that I would at least throw out is Kenneth Walker. And I know there's plenty more.
Well, you talk about being about the money. We're going to find out how much money come Sunday about 8:30 whenever this sucker's over. And you read the stat line, you're going to find out how much you're going to have to offer him. I mean, he stepped up huge with the Zach Charbonnet injury, him going out. He had to take on that whole role. And he really was able to close out the game. I love seeing him catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a good willing blocker. He runs the ball really hard, and he has some home run ability. We've seen a lot of runs where, hey, guys will break, but just won't get to the end zone. Kenneth Walker seems to finish those runs, I should say. And, it is always good to bring in, somebody who's had, a taste of what it's like to be in a championship game, right? Be able to bring that type of mentality, bring the expectations that work with the Seattle Seahawks organization and say, hey, man, this is how we work over here. Let's kind of raise the standard of how we do things. Because frankly, right now, the running back room is young outside of, I guess Eckler is still around, but he's injured. But then Bill's young. Chris Rodriguez is young. Kenneth Walker would be able to step in there, be a leader in a sense, but still also have a lot of tread on the tires, David. So that'd be a good pickup for me. I would approve that signing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Kenneth Walker would be a great signing. I think he's got all the potential in the world, and that market value could certainly go up, and bidding wars can certainly drive price tags up. But right now on Spot Track, he's estimated to make $8.4 million per year on a new 4-year contract, and that brings him roughly into about what DeAndre Swift got in his 3-year deal when he was 25. I mean, I'll take that. Like, that would be to me, that's not a problem at all. And I think you still bring back Chris Rodriguez Jr. and you have Bill, and then maybe you go into the undrafted free agent market or something like that to go get you some developmental guys in the background to fill out that room for training camp and all that stuff. I think that'd be a really good trio. I think Kenneth can kind of do a little bit of all of it. Chris is, like you said, that short yardage back that hey, look, if Kenneth Walker is sitting at 13 carries in the third quarter and it's 3rd and 1, let's get C-Rod a carry in there. Let's see if he can't just bulldoze forward for a yard, and let Bill be the one cut quick back and see if David Blau can't draw up some David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs type of magic with those two types of backs. I know that's a dangerous comparison, but let's see what they can do with it. So I would love it. But honestly, the other guy on offense I'm looking at, Nick, is Rashid Shaheed, former New Orleans Saints wide receiver that was traded to the Seahawks, and he's done a great job. And going back to that David Blau history, if he runs even anything close to what he learned under Ben Johnson all those years in Detroit, it's going to be a power slot type of offense. You want a power slot like Amon-Ra St. Brown, which Luke McCaffrey kind of fits the mold, not as athletic, but other than that, kind of fits that mold. You need a seam demon tight end, which they don't have. So we'll see what they do in free agency and in the NFL draft to go attack that. Dallas Goedert is an attractive option. Max Clare out of Ohio State, not just because he's out of Ohio State, but because he's legit, is an option there. But then you also need that Jamison Williams type of dude. You need someone who can take the top off opposite of Terry McLaurin. Rashid Shaheed can be that guy.
Rashid Shaheed, man, the price is going to be what determines that, but his kick return ability, right? That special teams play is going to be very, very important. It's going to be interesting to see what Seattle feels about him as well, because that right there is money to play receiver. That's not just money to return some kicks, and he would fit a very, very dire need. That would be a dream player to add. I could say if you're looking at somebody from him and Tariq Woolen would be another dream, a dream player to add. But Rashid is somebody I feel like Seattle would try to make a push to keep, but it may be too tempting if somebody's willing to say, hey, like what's going to determine all this is them daggum press conferences coming up next week on Tuesday. Like, whatever, if they give some sort of indication how this offense is going to run, whatever they're saying in those meetings, like, this is where I see you, fitting in. Here are the clips. Take this number, like you mentioned, Jamison Williams. Take the one off. Just imagine that's you, right? If that's the message he's getting across, then maybe you can sway him to come over there. But he would definitely address the need of having some deep speed on offense, Nick. We need some gas on that side of the ball.
So since we're only looking after Seattle just went and got him, I think Seattle makes the push to keep him. But it would be, again, we're limited to a small free agent pool out of these guys, which means I'm going to throw out another name because it is a position of need, but his age is a little bit up there. Austin Hooper's 31. I always throw it out for the right price, because with just about anything in life, for the right price, it makes sense or it doesn't, right? There are plenty of t-shirts I have that were free that I'm willing to wear, but I would never have paid money to actually wear that t-shirt. I got a lot of ugly t-shirts that probably should go to the Goodwill at this point. But Austin Hooper's interesting, right? Because, he's a little bit older at 31, but there's a level of production that you could still get from him. And if you're losing a veteran tight end in Zach Ertz, who, at this point, we don't know what his career is going to look like after the injury he just suffered this past season, Does that make sense with Ben Sinnott maybe getting more opportunity because they certainly want to try and you think want to try and see what he'd look like in a new offense now, or at least with a new offensive coordinator? Then you add somebody like an Austin Hooper to the mix that has that veteran leadership, a little bit younger than Zach Ertz and some of the experience there. I think Austin Hooper for someone maybe at a $5-6 million a year. Again, this team has a lot of cap space, Anthony. There's something there where that would be somebody at least from the tight end position. If I'm looking, I mean, that's really the only tight end that's going to be a free agent out of these two teams, but that might be somebody that you look at for the right veteran price too.
Yeah, fit right in exactly with what Zach Ertz was doing. He's been in the league a while, 10 years. So that could fit a need. I look right underneath them over there, like you said, on Spot Track. Caleb Chase on, right? Can you get something out of him coming over there, 6 years in the league, been at LSU? He probably cross paths with Durante Jones, I'm assuming, right? If that's 2026 and he was there in 20, so they may have crossed paths. I'm sure they did, but he may know, like, hey, I can unlock something out of this guy. And once again, how are you going to build through the draft, supplement through free agency? I feel like if you're going to go edge, it either needs to be the most dynamic edge you can get in the draft, or you got to get the best like veteran edge. Yeah, obviously, top tier guys are going to be made tough to get, but the best one that you can get that can play right now, because I don't think that's a position I want somebody to have to develop and learn. I need that person to either be a dog straight away or go get me the best dog out of free agency, David.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Chase is interesting. The problem with Caleb, of course, is that he's a one-year wonder right now. Like, he's really only had the one good year. So it's like, is this lightning a bottle or what is this? He's 26, almost 27. Like, if he gets a multi-year offer from somebody else, then, I don't know if AP is going to want to get into that bed with him. But Austin Hooper, you mentioned, Nick, like, he's a floor raiser. Like, at the end of the day, he's a floor raiser. Like, he's not the most dynamic tight end in the world, but he's a guy that gives you a consistent level of production. You know what to expect from him because you got years and years of tape on him. Same thing with Dallas Goedert, who's obviously not playing this weekend, but like he's the same type of tight end. They're older, not old, but they're older to the point where they're basically going out there probably expecting 1-year offers, and they can block, they can receive, they can do a little bit of everything. And so if you are in a room or in a situation where you may not have your tight end of the future, this guy gives you that, B plus tight end production and availability while you build around that. And then eventually you go out there and try to find your tight end of the future. And for the Commanders, it makes all the sense in the world, because even if David Blau is sitting there and saying, hey, listen, I think Ben Sinnott can be our Sam Laporta, until he proves it and until the proof is in the pudding and on the tape, like, I'm a big fan of operating the offseason based off what you know, not what you hope. And to me, you're hoping Ben Sinnott can be that guy. But until you know he can be that guy, you need to go get somebody what they bring. You know what Austin Hooper brings. And for $2.5 million on a 1-year contract, Austin Hooper also knows he's not guaranteed anything. He's not guaranteed reps. He's not guaranteed any targets. And don't forget, that's exactly what Zach Ertz walked into. Zach came to Washington expected to be a third down red zone type of guy, and that was it. He showed up and showed out and then basically convinced everybody, like, hey, you need to be on the field as much as possible. Now, Austin Hooper could do that, but also Ben Sinnott could show up and say, hey, no, this is my job. Coach Blau, we're gonna young movement is gonna come in here and do this thing. Austin, appreciate you. When we go to 12, maybe you can get some burn, but John Bates is a better blocker than you, so you might have to wait for 13. But we'll see what we can do for you. Enjoy the $2.5 million. Welcome to DC. Go get some chili, and thanks for coming. And there's nothing wrong with doing that if you're Adam Peters.
It would be kind of cool to have a.
They need to really give out. They need to give like a places to go, like welcome kit to players when they get in town, because they didn't tell me where to go. It was like burger spot right down the road, man. That's all I had for the longest. But man, yeah, they need to let somebody know about Ben's Chili Bowl and all the.
Say, how long before you found out about Ben's Chili Bowl?
Man, I've heard. I honestly hadn't got to go get the original. I have not gone and gotten the original. That's a damn shame, isn't it? That's a shame.
Yeah.
I apologize, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man. It's okay. At least you admit the mistake, and that's.
But I know about it. I just ain't.
Well, that's a good start. Yeah. And now you can just go to the airport and get it. It's everywhere. So if you want to get it,
I want to go.
It ain't the same.
I want to go to. I want to go to the original. You know what I mean? I want to go to the original spot. Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been to the original. Many, many years ago. It would be cool to have a Kobe Bryant in burgundy and gold, right? Just back there at safety, you could have there's another name. There's There's maybe not necessarily a ton that are going to be playing in the Super Bowl that might interest this team, but there's certainly, we know the positions that the Commanders have. Speaking of the Commanders and free agency and edge rushers and a position in need, there's a name that's starting to circle in more and more rumors. And I've only been saying it for a long, long time that it makes perfect sense for the Commanders who that is and how that could happen next on Commander Squad. All right, if you ever hired someone who looked good on paper but just wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. And when you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If I need someone to hire someone for this show, if I was doing that, I'd go right to Indeed, and I'd be very specific about what I need. Real experience and not just resume buzzwords, which you see a lot of that's out there, you know. And according to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. All right, David Harrison and Anthony Armstrong. There are more and more rumors that Maxx Crosby wants out, that will no longer be a part of the Raiders moving forward. This is something that I have screamed from the mountaintops forever. I may not put my tinfoil hat on just yet, but what I will say is the internet yelled at me when I said this 2 months ago that the Commanders should trade for Maxx Crosby. And I got eviscerated all over Instagram, and I don't care because, damn it, it makes so much sense, and I want to see this happen so bad. But, David, you and I were texting about this before the show, and I understand that it would take some things. And I understand it would take a first-round pick this year and probably next year. But you know what?
No,
Maxx Crosby is in his prime. He's already got a deal locked up, so you're not talking extension, and he's somebody that will get after the quarterback. And I honestly do think that there are people around the NFL, fans specifically, that do not understand how great Maxx Crosby is because he played for the Raiders and because the Raiders have been an absolute dumpster fire. This guy is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, David, and I would absolutely make an effort if I'm the Commanders to go after him because they got the cap space. I understand the draft capital might worry people a little bit, but there is no guarantee that just because you draft somebody 7th overall, even like a Caleb Downs, that he's going to turn out to be somebody that lives up to those expectations. You know what Maxx Crosby already is.
No, 100%. Listen, I'll tell you right now, I'm not gonna pod the pod here, but the very next episode of Locked On Commanders is all about Maxx Crosby and the fact that the Washington Commanders could not only get Maxx Crosby, but get him and keep number 7 in 2026. So not only is it very doable, it's actually very likely. And the thing that people have to remember when we go back through the history, I'm gonna go back through the history of a lot of these trades in the past. And the one I will give away right here, right now, is Brian Burns. Remember when the Carolina Panthers had to trade Brian Burns, what happened in that situation? What happened in that situation is the court of public opinion got a hold of everything so quickly and so intimately that the Carolina Panthers lost all their leverage. And every general manager in the National Football League that wanted Brian Burns was calling the Carolina Panthers, say, hey, we want Brian Burns, but look, like everybody knows, the streets are talking, you don't have him. So you can have no Brian Burns and nothing, or you can have no Brian Burns and a little bit of something. And at the end of the day, the Giants got Brian Burns and gave the Carolina Panthers just a little bit of something. And Carolina Panthers fans were not happy, and the media made fun of the Carolina Panthers. But what happened is they let the narrative take over the decision. The Dallas Cowboys, I'll give you one thing. The one thing the Dallas Cowboys did very, very correctly in the Micah Parsons deal is there was a very short window of Dallas Cowboys may not have Micah Parsons anymore, and boom, he's out the door. Look at all the draft capital we just got. Look at all the stuff we just got back in trade. If it had been all offseason of Micah Parsons is getting traded. I know there was speculation about if they can't get a contract. I'm talking about legit fire and smoke coming up around a Micah Parsons is being traded type of narrative. That deal would have been a lot less than what the Dallas Cowboys ended up getting for Micah Parsons. Jay Glazer not only broke the story that Maxx Crosby wants out of Vegas, he literally dropped the quote on everybody's head. Maxx Crosby, quote unquote, screw these guys. I mean,
That's it.
Right
That's
now,
it.
if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you're looking at that pot of draft capital you can demand for Maxx Crosby, and it is dwindling by the second. And every general manager in the National Football League is just going, yeah, buddy. Yeah, dude, your star pass rusher just said screw you and did it to a national media member, talking head, and gave him permission. Because if you don't know how this business works, Jay Glazer does not go on stage with a microphone in front of his face on Super Bowl Radio Row and say Maxx Crosby said, quote unquote, screw these guys, unless he has permission from Maxx Crosby to do so. So that is very intentional. That is very much on purpose. And the Las Vegas Raiders have zero leverage in this situation. Here's my last piece of evidence I'll give you for this. Your boy Q, host of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Love him. He is my dude. Every time we're in the same place, I make sure I go see him. He had Ian Rappaport on his show yesterday. I had previously DM Q and said, hey, dude, here's what I'm thinking. Number 7 for Maxx Crosby and number 30, I think it's 36, whatever the Raiders' second round pick is. So the Commanders give you number 7. We get Maxx Crosby over here in DC, and the Commanders get your second round pick, top 5 pick, whatever, in the second round. And Q was like, you know what, dude? I mean, the contract's not that bad. They don't really want to trade him. They don't really have to trade him right now, so I don't think it's going to happen. So now this information comes out, and Ian Rappaport goes on Q's radio show in Vegas and says, the Raiders aren't getting Micah Parsons. They might get a late first-round pick. I can see that, but they're not getting Micah Parsons. I DM Q, and I said, hey, bro, so today, in the light of a new day, what do you say to my offer? And now his words are possible, but I still think they'll push for more. The tone changes very, very quickly out here, ladies and gentlemen. The block can get hot in a second, Anthony Armstrong. And I'm telling you right now, not only can Maxx Crosby come to DC, but Maxx Crosby can come to DC, and Adam Peters can still have a top 10 pick in the 2026 NFL draft.
To the max. That's my boy, Big Ja. I got to give him a shout out. You got to find a way to make it happen. You know what I mean? Find a way to make it happen. Go out to Vegas. Go visit the big old, what is that? The big Roomba in the middle of the desert out there. Go and see what they're talking about, because you got a guy that wants out. And we mentioned, hey, if you can add a Maxx Crosby and keep 7, that right there. I thought getting Ruben Bain at 7 was like a Christmas coming early. Getting Maxx Crosby and keeping 7 would be bigger than that. So make that happen. Make that happen. Gives you a lot of flexibility. And the thing I love about Maxx Crosby the most is that he's a guy that you're going to cut on the tape. Obviously, you know, you talk about the production. It's the dude's effort. It's the way he plays the game. Like, you see him run, beat the tackle, almost bring the quarterback down, then run the quarterback back down, and then force a fumble. He does these things on the regular. He ran through somebody, I forget whatever game it was, where he was flying around and that guy was just hanging around the pile. Here comes Max. Bam, he took him off. He is somebody that would set the tempo and the tone for the defense of just, hey, pin your ears back and follow me, right? They're going to point and say, work like Max. If you're not working like Max, then you're not going to be on the field together. But you imagine,
set the tone for everybody.
Set the tone. You know what I mean? Like you have your veteran leaders like a Bobby Wagner. He's losing a step, but he's still going to be a leader by presence, a leader by his voice, a leader by his words. Max is a guy that's still got the energy to run around and do that thing by his effort. You know what I mean? He'll be at the front of that line going over those bags every single day, face painted, David. I'm with it. Once again, I approve this message. That's 2 for 2. Go ahead. I give it the A-OK on that deal.
I mean, he would elevate literally everything. Like, I don't even know how, but like Locked On Commanders just become more aggressive. Like, maybe instead of having this boom arm, I'll just hold the microphone in my hand. I'll just be doing like just shaking this thing all over the place and getting all like red face and I'm smacking my microphone, even just talking about it. Like, I don't know how. That's just what Maxx Crosby is. Like, that's the type of player he is, to your point. Like, he is just a guy that elevates the entire room, the attitude of the team. And think about what you have to have done as a Raiders organization to get Maxx Crosby. This is a guy who's battled substance abuse. You know, he was going to be a nothing. He might be dead in the gutter someday. Like, what he has overcome himself, but also what he's overcome with the support of an organization and a team and all this other stuff. Like, the love that he has for Raider Nation, for being there through all the trials and tribulation. Like, to get him to the point, we know what it was. It was them shutting him down, putting him on IR and saying, no, we're gonna tank for the draft picks. And Max is like, I'm not about that business. And if this brand is going to be run with that attitude, I'm not going to be part of this brand anymore. You know, this is a dude who's from the state of Michigan and went to high school in the state of Texas. So, you know, he's got tough blood just coursing through his veins, and then goes to Oakland and makes a fan base fall in love with him, goes to Vegas and they still say fall in love with him. Like, this is a dude who, as they say, is built different. He's a guy who's of a different breed than a lot of people are used to. And yeah, he's the kind of guy that can be really infectious. And the greatest thing about him is, unlike some other supposed pass rushers in the history of this team, anyway, you don't got to worry about him going out there and getting speeding tickets or doing any other things kind of crazy. He's going to represent the organization well, but also represent in a way that makes the younger fans want. I mean, you're going to have like, what are those like tattoo sleeve shirt things that people have? Like, you're going to have those things out here. Like, people are going to be dressed up as Maxx Crosby in burgundy and gold for Halloween with spear logos all over Spurgundy with spear logos. Talking Paris, doing all this kind of stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun if it happens, Nick.
I'm looking through the comments on the
Maxx Crosby's
clip.
almost 29. Merle, stop it. He's not 30.
Yeah, I know. Merle. Most people now in the YouTube comments have been, yes, I'm in. Merle is anti that. It's not that the fact that it's not one of those things where you're looking at it saying Maxx Crosby's all they need to win a Super Bowl. No, but he's part of the picture. Somebody like him is part of the picture. So it's not a matter of just like that's the only guy, but it's you got to have multiple pieces for this team. You've got to have difference makers. But it's funny because I'm seeing a tone that's changing here with this, whether it's, these comments, you guys talking about this, other people starting to talk about it. I'm going through the comments here of the post on YouTube when I said this a couple months ago on 106.7 The Fan. And there is a lot of no, you're stupid, you're crazy, no, not for multiple draft picks, or no, you're not going to get it.
I only meant to send that once. It accidentally sent it multiple times.
You know what? That's okay. You apologize, David, and I really appreciate that. And you said it in different ways, so it looked like a different person. Hell no. You think Maxx Crosby? Oh, here's one. Y'all really think Maxx Crosby is available? Well, Beast, yes, I do. 4 weeks ago, you said that, and now look what's happening. So there's nothing better than when you say something and the whole internet says you're crazy and it's never going to happen. And then you start to look at it right here. Don't worry, I've got it pinned right at the top of my Instagram here. Go find that. Yeah, go ahead and tell some of these people 4 weeks ago that said this. Yeah, they're stupid. I'm just gonna, because you know what? Damn it, this makes so much sense. So much sense. Now, Daron Payne might be somebody you throw in there, and they need interior linemen, maybe throwing a player in a pick instead. You go that route. I mean, it makes sense for both sides there. By the way, there's one comment in there. Who the hell's Daron Payne? Okay, watch some football, dude. All right. And this is why I know the internet's stupid. But I'm just going to sit back because this feels good that everybody's coming on to my train now. They're jumping on board the Maxx Crosby bandwagon. And anybody that said this was a stupid idea, anybody said, no way this would happen, I'm the only person even thinking about it. No, I was just early to the party. Welcome to my party. Here we go. We're calling it the Maxx Crosby party. Screw you, Raiders. We want Maxx Crosby in Washington. Damn it. So
he had 10 sacks. He had 10 sacks last season. I'll take that.
As the only pass rusher on that whole defense, too, by the way. As the only pass rusher on the entire defense.
Yeah. He's the presence. He's the person that's going to make. And he had an interception, too.
And on a defense, because we covered Patrick Graham in the defense coordinator, search. And don't get me wrong, like Patrick Graham, I think would have elevated the floor of the Commanders' defense, certainly. But Patrick Graham, one of the least blitzing defensive coordinators in the National Football League, one of the least creative play designers in the National Football League on the defensive side of the ball. So Maxx Crosby's not moving a lot. He's not stunting a lot. He's not getting a whole lot of help from other extra people coming, and he's still ripping off 10 sacks. It's not like Jim Schwartz's defense. Like Myles Garrett, when I say this, I'm not trying to take away from Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is great all on his own. Don't get me wrong. But Myles Garrett also plays in a scheme that allows him to move, to flex, to stunt, to twist, and brings other people that blockers have to worry about so they can't just double team him on all those. And he's still, like I said, he's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying Max is doing what he's doing without the benefit of all that other stuff.
He don't got the extra games and whatnot. I mean, that guy's productive, man. That's somebody you add. He brings the right mentality. He's what you want. Like, I'll say this. You want a winner. Why don't you want to add a winner? Like, what's wrong with somebody? I know everybody got on 30 because of the 30-year-old receiver. Don't pay him because he's 30. Terry still ball. He just had a random injury. These guys can still play, right? You got to get somebody that's impactful. And Maxx Crosby is one of those guys that offensive coordinators will circle on the board and say, know where the hell he is every single time. Know where they are every single time, and that's going to be helpful in and of itself. So
and then you go tell Trey Hendrickson, hey, bro, we got Maxx Crosby over here. We got a more aggressive scheme. Take a little bit less money than we know you want, but come over here, ball the hell out. And you know what? In 2027, go rip off somebody else and get your last contract and go do that and come over here.
That looked like a hard-working defensive line right there, man. There's some two hard-working dudes on the ends, but two Ryan Kerrigans on the outside. Ain't that something? Shout out to
Listen,
Ryan, man.
Maxx
A
Crosby,
whole new
and burgundy
D-line
and
coach
gold.
that's known for creating
Yes.
havoc up front. I mean, let's make this happen.
This could be a whole new defense. And listen, they need a million things, and they've got plenty of cap space. If there's ever a time to also be a little bit aggressive and bring somebody like that in, this is the chance you do it. All right, one final look, Super Bowl predictions before we have the final game of the NFL season, and then we are all completely into free agency in the NFL draft on Commander Squad. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run business and think there has to be a better way, right? Well, there is, and streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades that you can make, and that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Now, what's great about it is your team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It also works right from your phone or computer, and you can really even keep your existing number, which is even better. It's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Now, make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNFL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNFL. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, so David Harrison, Anthony Armstrong, Nick Ashew. We got the Patriots. We got the Seahawks. Seahawks 4.5-point favorites in this game. I do think that this game on Sunday, this Super Bowl, is going to be a little more defensive-minded. That's certainly what got these teams to this point, except for the NFC Championship game, which, of course, the Seahawks gave up 27 points. Didn't run the ball particularly well. Sam Darnold definitely won them that game. But this has the feel of the defenses being locked in, a little time off, a little time for some guys. For the most part, Seattle dealing, obviously, with an injury like David mentioned at the beginning of the show here. There are two defenses that have been very strong this season, that have been a big part of the team's success that they've had this year. So I look at this. I do think Seattle wins. I think it's close. I think it's within a field goal. I'm going to go with 20-17 Seattle.
Is it my turn?
Anthony. Anybody can go.
Oh, I thought you said David. I was over here trying to get some data. David said, I'm like, I need data now.
Do we have some more data?
I'm trying. I'm trying to get some data, but here's the data. I was
doing the math again.
Okay, you were talking about what's going to happen in this game. I think it's a close matchup. I do think these teams are fairly similar. I mean, obviously, the differences, I get into these things. You talk about age, Merle. You have Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels. They've been there before. That can kind of take over and kind of get you past having a young second-year quarterback. So you talk about Drake Maye's nerves and what's going to happen. He's got Josh McDaniels, who's in his ear. He's talked to Tom Brady in Super Bowls. Can you think this guy could probably calm him down? You think Mike Vrabel's going to be able to get his team calm? I think that makes sense. And on that flip side, Mike McDonald's a young guy, but then Sam Darnold's been all over the league. This is a matchup where I had to go and see. Well, one, I think you could say New England could cover the 4.5. I think it's going to be a close matchup. I see it, being nice and close. I even think it could hit the over. In my data, I said, how many Super Bowls have hit the over? And it's damn near perfect. 29 over, 29 unders. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be an over game. You say it's still going to be defensive. There's enough time where these offensive coordinators can find a play that you can take advantage of. That's what this league is about. Your good stuff, just let's call it a wash, right? That's just a wash. How can you create some offense for yourself in these games? Give me the over for sure. And I think New England can cover. David?
I got two pieces of non-important information that are going to help me make this decision.
Big fan of it.
The first piece of non-important information is that the Tennessee Titans fan base has been winning this offseason in the first month of the offseason. They got some good players to build around, good draft capital. They got Robert Saleh and a coach, very competitive staff being built there in Tennessee. So to continue that string, they need Mike Vrabel to lose a Super Bowl. Oh, by the way, they're also laughing at the Philadelphia Eagles, who are reportedly considering trading A.J. Brown and just drafting a replacement for him in the NFL draft, because Tennessee Titans fans know more than anybody else that is a terrible, terrible plan to try to execute. So Titans fans are enjoying this offseason. And I think they're going to continue moving for continuing the offseason because unfortunately they're also not going to want Mike Vrabel to win a Super Bowl because he no longer coaches the Tennessee Titans. So that's number one. That's the reason that the Seattle Seahawks are going to win. Number two reason the Seattle Seahawks are going to win based on information that actually does not matter. Joe Theismann talking to JP Finley, speaking of 106.7 The Fan, speaking to JP Finley, talked about Mike McDonald's lack of Super Bowl experience, said, quote, according to JP, quote, Joe Gibbs had never coached in one. Don Shula had, didn't matter for Joe, end quote. Seahawks by 40. That's the prediction.
Seahawks by 40. I love it.
That almost hit the over.
And listen, well, when you're talking about an over, so the total's at 45.5 in this game. So
40 to 6.
At 40 to 6. There you go.
Or wait, 46 to 6.
And that may be a last second field goal because hey, why not finish the season strong? You know
what? Hey. First pass of the game, Sam Darnold throws a pick six, and then the Seahawks drop 46 on him. Let's just make that happen.
So Sam Darnold scores all the points. I tell you, I hope it's not that. I would rather it be a defensive battle and be 10 to 3 than be 40 to 6.
Yeah, it needs to be close.
Yeah. Well, listen. Here's the thing one, I do think Seattle's going to win. Like I said, I had it at 20 to 17, so that's going to put the under there, under 45.5. But the big thing for me here is that quarterback matchup, right? Because Drake Maye and Sam Darnold both in their first Super Bowl, but there's a little bit more in terms of expectations for, I would argue, Sam Darnold, because Drake Maye is only in his second year. And he's somebody that doesn't really have that much NFL experience versus Sam Darnold's been around a little bit longer and has, a little more to prove because of the way his career started. Now, that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case. But what I do see here is, again, I go back to these defenses. It's still going to be having to lean on these two defenses to really make a difference in this game. It's why I think it's close. It's why I think it comes down to a field goal. Listen, if you're just looking at this game and you're the NFL, there's been a lack of hype around these two teams. There's not you don't have all of the storylines and the Patrick Mahomes or the Tom Brady or some. Really, it's been more about Bad Bunny than it's been about the game. Honestly, that's all that we've all heard about is Bad Bunny, Bad Bunny, Bad Bunny. And I don't care anymore. All I care about is the damn game. A good game is what the NFL really needs. Now, whether or not there's a script in this or not, guys, all I'm saying is that I do think this game ends up being close and we get two well-matched teams where it comes down. So if you like defense, that might be what we get. I do like the prediction, though, of a Sam Darnold pick six right off the bat, and then that's it. That's calling your shot, David, without question.
Is it going to be Christian Gonzalez? Because I think he's got to
make it happen. Christian
Gonzalez, what I'm saying.
Pick six. Let's do
this. You know what? I mean, it would be something. I'm not going to
Commanders fans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's terrible.
Commanders fans will take the video of Christian Gonzalez running into the end zone, lay it over Melissa, formerly Melissa Gonzalez, now Melissa. I believe her name is Melissa Blau. Don't quote me on this. David Blau's wife, yes. Melissa, who is Christian Gonzalez's sister, Olympic athlete, running alongside her brother to point out that David Blau's family is just winning this offseason. So
that is actually really creative. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah. I thought Ron Rivera was gonna come back up in this for some odd reason. I don't know. This is gonna be a good game, though, man. I'm excited for it.
I think so too. I think we're in a spot now where it's two teams that are going to be prepared and hopefully healthy. And Drake Maye saying he's feeling good after being sick. So we'll see. All right, we got our predictions in. When we do our next show, we will know who wins the Super Bowl. And it's all about looking ahead to free agency, trades, the draft, all of that for the Commanders next in a massively pivotal offseason heading into year 3, of Jayden Daniels. It's Commanders Squad.